At the beginning of the film, we see a girl named Kenara. She sees a mysterious woman dancing in a strange way in a deserted place. Out of curiosity, Kenara asks her identity, but the woman does not answer. While dancing upside down, she suddenly turns her neck upside down and scares Kenara. At that moment, a black shadow rushes towards Kenara and she wakes up out of fear. Back in reality, when Kenara goes out of the room to get water, she is scared by the sound of the door opening, although no one is seen there. In the midst of this scary atmosphere, her friend Ayu comes with a birthday cake and surprises her. Raka is mentioned in the conversation. Raka has betrayed Kenara by having a relationship with Kenara's best friend. Still, she has no regrets. In order not to face Raka, Kenara had not gone home during the holidays and stayed in the hostel. Since the hostel was quite empty, Ayu invites Kenara to take her to her village, Kalawangan. Ayu explains that this village was once famous for dancers. However, now it is rare to see them. The name of the village seems very familiar to Kenara. The next day, they make a shopping plan and go to bed. At night, Raka sends a message asking when Kenara will return, but Kenara does not respond. Kenara starts searching online about the village of Kalawangan. She finds out that this village is indeed famous for talented dancers. But while scrolling, her eyes fall on an old news story. 10 years ago, a young dancer named Meng Putra Khandra mysteriously disappeared, whose whereabouts are unknown. The next day, Kenara goes to an antique shop and is attracted by a beautiful shawl. An old woman in the shop says that this shawl was made especially for Kenara and that the shawl has chosen its own owner. The old woman tells that whoever this shawl chooses will be tied to it forever. After that, she puts a hairpin in Kenara's hair. While leaving the shop, a mysterious woman's reflection is seen in the mirror, but Kenara does not pay attention to her. When Ayu tells her about this strange experience, she says that it is not right to take such things from strangers. After they leave, we see that the shop from which Kenara bought the shawl has a notice of cancellation. Later, Kenara decides to go to the village with Ayu, and before leaving, she puts the shawl and hairpin in the cupboard. In the next scene, we see that they reach the village. Kenara wanted to stay for a while to avoid the rain, but Ayu tells her to walk quickly. Just then, Kenara hears strange music, but Ayu quickly takes her home. Ayu's mother welcomes Kenara warmly. After a while, Ayu's father, Prastomo, arrives. Ayu introduces Kenara to her father, but Prastomo's anger was clearly visible on his face. Later, going to her room, Ayu apologizes for her father's strange behavior. She tells him that none of her school friends wanted to come to this village before. Kenara is the first one she has brought home. Later, when Ayu's mother asks the reason for her husband's tension, Prastomo remains silent, but deep concern is clearly visible on his face. In the next scene, when Kenara comes out after taking a bath, she suddenly hears the door closing loudly. She sees a shadow behind the door. Kenara thinks it is Ayu, but then Prastomo comes and warns her that it is not Ayu's room. At night, the two friends sit down to talk. Ayu sadly tells her that she is not allowed to make love. That is why she yearns for the feeling of love. Kenara explains it to her, but Ayu falls asleep while talking. After this, Kenara opens her bag to charge her phone, and she is shocked. The shawl and hairpin she had left behind in the city hostel magically appeared in her bag. She immediately remembered the old woman's words. The shawl she chose would be tied to her forever. Well, Kenara, without thinking much about it, went to charge her phone, but her foot slipped on the rainwater dripping from the roof. She went to the kitchen to get a bucket. She got scared while closing the window on her way back. In the darkness, Ayu's father, Prastomo, sat as still as a statue. Kenara pretends to be raining, but Prastomo doesn't answer. But in reality, Prastomo is sleeping in his room. Then a terrifying voice whispers in his ear, "Only death can separate you." He wakes up in fear, but no one is visible. It is clear that some old, hateful shadow is following him. The next morning, Ayu takes Kenara to the village dance school. There, she meets dance teacher Sarathi and popular musician Deja. Ayu teases Kenara and says that Deja can't take her eyes off Kenara. Then, Ayu tells everyone that Kenara was once a dancer. Hearing this, the other students start forcing her to dance. Kenara was hesitant, only then she notices that a mysterious woman standing far away is staring at her. Teacher Sarathi scolds the students on seeing this. When Kenara looks again, the woman has disappeared. Meanwhile, Prastomo worries to his wife that Bono may have returned. The wife asks who will be the next victim, so Prastomo brings up the death of Nayang 10 years ago. He does not think that Bono was behind Mang's death. From what he says, it seems that Prastomo's wife knew Bono well and is hiding some deep secret. Returning home, Ayu tells her that Deja's uncle is a powerful man in the village, but she feels very bad for Deja because her parents are dead and her sister has been missing for years. That same night, Kenara has the same dream again. In her dream, the dancing woman's neck turns upside down and a terrible creature starts chasing her. Kenara hides behind the wall, but the creature comes right behind her and says, "Come with me." Kenara screams in fear and wakes up from her sleep. Kenara tries to wake up Ayu out of fear, but then the door of the room opens automatically. The sound of a woman singing comes from outside. Curious, Kenara follows the sound out of the room. A demonic shadow follows her in the corridor, but Kenara cannot see it. Following the tune, she reaches a door from where the song was coming. As soon as she puts her ear to the door, the song is clearly heard. But as soon as she tries to open the door, the song stops, and she sees that the door is locked. Just as Kenara starts to leave, the door opens automatically. She sees the same mysterious woman inside the room. But at that very moment, Ayu calls out to her, and the door closes again. The next morning, Kenara tells Ayu all the events that happened to her. After hearing everything, Ayu also reveals a dark secret of her family. She tells that the room once belonged to her uncle, Bono. Bono was in love with a dancer named Ratiha, but the villagers burned Bono alive. It is said that since then, a dancer has been sacrificed every 10 years to appease the spirit of Bono. Ayu confirms that Deja's sister Mayang, who was lost in childhood, was the victim of the same sacrifice. Later, the two talk to Deja about it. Deja explains that Mayang believed that Ratiha was actually a form of Bono who comes back to take revenge. Therefore, Deja's uncle secretly performs a ritual every 10 years to appease Bono's spirit. Ayu suggests that Kenara meet Deja's uncle, but Kenara does not agree. However, Kenara did not understand what connection she has with all this. In the evening, when Ayu's father, Prastum, goes to drink tea, as soon as he brings the cup to his mouth, he sees that instead of tea, there is blood swirling in it. Out of fear, he drops the cup. Then, a demonic shadow appears in front of him and asks, "Where is the dancer?" while his wife, sitting nearby, does not see anything. While picking up the pieces of the broken cup, the wife asks what happened, but the conversation is postponed. At night, Kenara slept with Ayu, but when she wakes up, she finds herself in the same locked room. There, she finds pictures of Bono and the dancer and an old torn book on the table. Curious, she takes out a folded paper from inside the book, on which it was written, "Pair of eclipses, 2 souls, 1 love, 1 revenge. Slogan, 1 Sukmo." Suddenly, an invisible voice commands her, "Dance," along with horror music. Kenara cannot stop herself even after trying 1,000,000 times. It is as if her hands and feet have gone under the control of someone else. She begs to stop, but then Ratia's spirit appears in front of her and orders her to dance. Ayu and her parents shout at Kenara from outside to open the door. On the way, when he was trying to break the door, then Ratia, who was buried in the mud, speaks up. She will wake up again. Kenara regains consciousness for a moment and screams for help, but the next moment, Ratia completely controls her. When the door finally opens, everyone is shocked to see the scene. Kenara was dancing strangely, floating in the air. After dancing for a while, she falls to the ground with a thud. After this incident, Ayu confronts her father. She wants to know what the secret of their family is and why her friend was floating in the air. When Prastomo pretends to be an unknown person, Ayu calls him a liar and leaves there in anger. After this, Ayu goes to Deja and asks if her uncle and Ratia are angry with the villagers, then why is Kenara falling victim to him? She decides to take Kenara back to the city immediately to save her from the same fate as Meng. But on the way to the city that night, some strangers kidnap her. The next morning, Kenara finds herself with Deja. She is worried and asks about Ayu, and Deja tells her that Prostom's men attacked them and he saved Kenara and brought her here. He lies that he does not know where Ayu is. He tells her that he is in Meng's old room right now and that he will drop Kenara off safely at the bus terminal tonight. But later we find out that Deja kidnapped him. Deja has actually reunited with his uncle Eddie. He has not brought Kenara here to save her, but to sacrifice her. Eddie orders that the ritual must begin as soon as Kenara wakes up. On the other hand, Ayu asks her father about Kenara, and Prostom says that she has not been found yet. Just then, Ayu sees a demonic form inside her father and screams in fear and tells him to go away. After a while, when she regains consciousness, she tells him that she saw a black shadow inside her father. Prostome goes to the grave of her brother Bano and begs. He asks if that 20-year-old anger has not cooled down yet. Prostome begs that the fire of revenge should not burn his daughter Ayu. At that very moment, an unseen voice orders him to return home immediately. Meanwhile, Deja's Uncle Eddie tells his men that the ritual will be completed tonight because that dancer, Kenara, is now in their hands. On the other hand, Kenara hears that scary music again, and it grips her feet like a cursed shawl snake. Ratia appears before her eyes and tells her that the time has come. At Rati's signal, Kenara's body starts twisting in a strange way. Just then, Deja enters the room and Kenara becomes normal, but she was so scared that no sound came out of her mouth. After that, Deja tells the terrible history of the village through a photo album. It turns out that once upon a time, Prostomo and Bano's family used to help the villagers a lot and even shared their harvest. But look at fate. After eating that harvest, the villagers fell ill and many people died. When the test revealed a mistake in the harvest, the angry mob believed Bano to be the culprit. Eddie tried hard to stop them, but failed. The mad mob tied Bano to a cross in the middle of the field, stoned her, and finally burned her alive. Since this cruel incident, Prostomo's family has been cut off from society, and supernatural events have started in the village, which was actually the revenge of Bano's wandering soul. Deja tells Kenara about the sad fate of Ratia. After Bano's death, Ratia mysteriously disappeared. People say that she committed suicide by hanging herself. Deja's Uncle Eddie was very upset because he loved Ratia in his heart. On the other hand, suddenly Ayu is possessed by some evil force. Seeing his daughter's condition, Prostome immediately sprinkles water with a spell and places his hand on Ayu's forehead after reciting a spell. After much effort, when he orders Bano's spirit to leave, Ayu regains consciousness and falls down. In anger and confusion, Prostome runs to Bano's room. He could not understand why Bano was harming his own niece. Suddenly, a book falls on the floor. As soon as he opens the book, he finds the paper with the inscription, Pair Eclipse, 2 souls, 1 love, 1 revenge, 1 sukmoha. Just then, Ratia's invisible voice comes, dances, and disappears. Meanwhile, Deja lies and traps Kenara in a new trap. He tells that a dance ritual has to be performed to appease the spirits of Bano and Ratia, and Ayu is waiting for him there. Kenara trusts and goes with Deja. Meanwhile, Prostomo tells his wife that it is not Bano's spirit that is doing all this to take revenge, and Ratia's spirit has chosen Kenara for this task. Now, Kenara's life is in danger, so he is going to save her. Meanwhile, Kenara's past comes before Kenara. She sees that they are dancing with each other. Before Kenara can understand anything, the scene changes and goes to that terrible day. She sees with her own eyes that the mad villagers are dragging Bano. Bano declares herself innocent and begs, but no one listens. She is tied to a cross, stoned, and finally set on fire and burned alive. Seeing this painful scene, Kenara freezes in fear and shock. When Kenara is brought back to reality by Bano's vision of her burning alive, Deja takes her straight to her Uncle Eddie. Eddie tells Kenara to prepare to be sacrificed for the ritual, which confuses Kenara. Just then, Prostomo comes running and tells Kenara to run. Kenara pushes Eddie away and hides behind a tree in the forest. But there, she is confronted by a terrifying entity. She screams in fear, causing Eddie's men to easily capture her. Kenara is brought back to the ritual site and tied up, where Prostomo was also imprisoned. Facing death, Prostomo reveals a years-old secret. He reveals that Bano was actually innocent. The real culprit is Eddie. Eddie had poisoned the villagers' food in a fit of jealousy and blamed it on Bano, killing her. Prostomo teases Deja's inner voice about how she let her own sister Mameng die for this false and cursed ritual. In hatred, Prostomo spits in Eddie's face, which infuriates Eddie. He says with a cool mind, "You will meet your brother soon," and immediately stabs Prostomo to death. After this, Eddie begins his ritual. He starts reciting a spell to sacrifice Kenara, promising to protect thousands of lives. At that very moment, Kenara hears that enchanting voice again. The ropes that were binding her suddenly burn to ashes. Ratia's spirit enters Kenara's body, and she starts dancing in a beautiful but terrifying way. Seeing this scene, Eddie starts trembling with fear, and the villagers present there are stunned. Eddie tries to stop Kenara like a madman, but now Deja stands against his uncle. After knowing the truth, Deja could not remain silent. In the scuffle, Eddie beats Deja up, but Deja doesn't give up. He picks up a nearby burning torch and sets Eddie on fire. Eddie keeps screaming for his life, but no one comes to his aid to see the punishment for his sins. In the spiritual world, amidst the flames, Bano thanks Kenara for her help, and Ratia tells her to keep dancing. But Deja shakes Kenara back to reality. They quickly run to the dying Prestomo. Before taking his last breath, Prestomo requests Kenara to take care of his daughter Ayu and consoles her that the reign of fear is over now. The next day, Kenara tells him the real reason for this 20-year-old curse. It turns out that Eddie's unrequited love and the jealousy of not being able to find Ratia were the root of all the trouble. The sin of separating Bano and Ratia and humiliating Bano in front of everyone and the anger of unrequited love had been cursing the village for so many days. Before leaving the village, Kenara throws that cursed shawl into the river. Only then does another shocking thing come to light. The dance teacher Sarati was actually Ratia's mother. But the story ends with a hair-raising twist. In the last scene, when Kenara opens her bag, she sees that the shawl she had thrown into the river has returned to her bag. And this is where the movie ends.